What is up, film geeks? My name is Trevor. Welcome back to the channel. In honor of Hitman hitting Netflix this past weekend, I thought it was a perfect time to share with you my ranking of every Netflix original movie that I have seen and placing them on their proper tiers. That's what we're about to dive into. Let me know your favorite and least favorite Netflix original movie that you've seen. They have some really good ones, some really bad ones, and a lot that are just like right in the middle, right in there. We're gonna get into it. I've seen right around 30-something Netflix original movies. I am probably forgetting a lot that I have seen. Nonetheless, we're gonna hop into it. Hit the like button, subscribe button, notification bell, and let's get into it. And starting off with our tiers, we have fantastic, great, good, okay, meh, and bad. Starting off with Zack Snyder's Army of the Dead. I'm gonna put this in the good tier. A sequel in a way to Dawn of the Dead from Zack Snyder all those years ago. Another zombie, but a heist zombie movie. I think Zack Snyder is a very, very overhated director. I love what he brings to the screen. I love his style. I love how different and unique it is. I love how he's so unapologetically himself. I thought this one was a fun enough time, and we got a sequel we'll talk about on here. That's like a spin-off sequel called Army of Thieves, which we'll get to here in a second. Then we have The Guilty, which is a remake. This is starring Jake Gyllenhaal, directed by Antoine Fuqua. I'm honestly putting this in the great tier. I did not know what to expect going into this one. Jake Gyllenhaal is always going to crush it. He crushed it in this movie, and there's several moments throughout it that you're on the edge of your seat, and then when that final twist comes in at the end, I wasn't expecting it. I had no idea where it was going. I was like, whoa. Whoa. Moving on, we have the Fear Street trilogy, all three movies. This was a time to be alive for just horror fans, slasher fans, fans of movies in general, because Fear Street released 3 movies in 3 weeks over on Netflix. It's going in fantastic, and I would arguably say that is up there for my favorite of Netflix original movies. The Fear Street trilogy, nothing short of extraordinary. Like I said, they released week to week to week. It was a time to be alive. I absolutely love the Fear Street movies. We've been doing a couple news Fear Street videos, shameless plug right there, but feel free to check those out. Moving on to Extraction 1 and 2, which I'm going to put in the good tier. I'm not like all into these movies like a lot of people are. For me, they're good movies. That's it. I don't think they're great. I don't think they're extravagant. They're very, very good. I've seen them both once. I need to go back and rewatch them, but for me, they were just good. I think I was expecting this maybe a little bit more. Mitchells versus the Machines. I'm putting this in the great tier, not in the fantastic tier, because I've only seen it the one time. The animation style is done so well, and this the unique concept about this family and the love of filmmaking and cinema and the robots and the machines and everything. It's fantastic. It's hilarious and very, very underrated. I feel very underseen. It should have won the Oscar, but didn't. Let's stop for another time. Moving on to Holiday. Holiday's gonna go in the okay tier. One of those movies where it definitely feels like a straight to streaming movie. My wife really likes this one, so we go back and revisit this one, honestly, kind of often, at least probably once a year. So it's just one of those movies you kind of roll your eyes to. You go, oh god, it's kind of one of those dumb romantic comedies, but they need a date every holiday. You can see where it's going to go. So it's going to go in the okay tier. The Wrong Missy. It's going to go in the bad tier. I remember watching it and like giggling here and there, but I was like, man, this is just not that great of a movie. It's actually just very, very bad. And there's a lot of those movies that come to Netflix that are bad, and I watch some. I try not to, but sometimes I do, and man, was not a fan. Then we have Rebel Moon 1 and 2, and I defend these movies. Again, I'm a Zack Snyder fan. I think he's overhated, so I'm going to put these in the okay tier as well. Do they have their fair share of problems? 1,000%. Is there one too many slow-mos? 100%. Are they a little too slow? Are they very cliche? We've seen it before. Yes. I liked what Zack Snyder brought to the screen. I like that, again, he's unapologetically himself with his style. I enjoyed them for the most part. I did not hate them nearly as much as most people did. Then we have You People, which I believe came out this year with Jonah Hill and Eddie Murphy. Bad movie. I did not laugh. I found it very irritating, and I was just kind of just like, this is just dumb, and I love Jonah Hill, and I wanted him to do more, and he just sucked. And Eddie Murphy too. Like, come on. This wasn't funny at all. And we have the sequel I mentioned earlier, Army of Thieves, which I'll put in the good tier, a spin-off from Army of the Dead about the locksmith guy who breaks into locks. It's solid enough. It's not something like as redefining the genre or anything like that, but nonetheless, it's a solid, fun enough movie, and the character himself is very, very likable. Marriage Story. Marriage Story is going in fantastic. I've seen this movie 3 or 4 times, and I think it's beautiful. I think what Noah Baumbach brought to the screen was deserved with all the Oscar nominations it got. The fight scene between Adam Driver and Scarlett Johansson, I mean, it just feels really real. The Old Guard. I'm gonna put The Old Guard in the good tier. I gotta go back and rewatch this one. It's been a couple years since I've seen it. We're supposed to be getting The Old Guard 2 here, and I think within a year or two. And I remember enjoying it. I don't remember absolutely loving it, but I remember being like, that's a really solid movie, which is obviously also based on a comic book movie, which is bizarre. I did not know that, but it's a good enough movie. Bird Box. I'm putting Bird Box in the great tier. Went into this one really blind. Heard everyone talking about it on social media. My wife was like, we need to watch this one. So we did. It's great. It keeps you on the edge of your seat. It's a quiet place, but instead of you can't speak, you just can't see. That is absurd. That is bonkers. So done really, really well. Some very emotional scenes throughout it, and I thought the way it ended was very sweet and really wrapped up nicely, and I really, really enjoyed it. Hitman. I'm going Hitman's in a fantastic tier. Hitman's the top 3 of the year for me. I really, really enjoyed it. A very fun movie from Richard Linklater and Glenn Powell, and there's no action in this movie. I think that caught a lot of people by surprise. It definitely caught me a little bit by surprise. And the movie is very cliche. We know where it's going. We've seen that movie once or twice before. Nonetheless, I love Glenn Powell. I love what he's able to do with this role. And it seems like he's having so much fun. And that's what I love about it. I had a great time with it. Richard Linklater and Glenn Powell co-wrote this together. Richard Linklater, all-time great director in my opinion. Thought it was fun. Thought it was funny. Thought it was like hot, spicy, a little steamy at times. I really enjoyed it. I really, really did. The King. I'm going to be a little hot streak for a second. The King is going in fantastic. I love this movie when I watched it, start to finish. I could not take my eyes off the screen. I'm a medieval guy. I love these type of movies, and I thought it was so brilliant with the twist they threw in at the end. And Timothée Chalamet, Paul de Atreides is playing the King of England, and my gosh, does he absolutely annihilate the role. He has his speech at the end, was like, make it England. He's yelling, he's getting his guys hyped up. It's beautiful, stunned. It's just so awesome. Heart of Stone. I'm going to go with man. I don't think it's bad as the bottom 2 ones, but this came out last year. It is a wannabe Mission Impossible movie that is just, you just don't care about it at all. Tick, Tick, Boom. One of the last few movies to go in the fantastic tier. Tick, Tick, Boom is one of my favorite directorial debuts of all time from Lin-Manuel Miranda. Andrew Garfield, I don't think he should have won, but I'm very glad he got nominated. This is the life of boom, 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 boom. It's a beautiful song. It's a beautiful movie about Jonathan Larson. I've watched this like 3 or 4 times, and I loved it more and more and more the more I watched it. If you're a dreamer, if you're looking to get inspired, watch this movie. The 365 trilogy. I watched it. This guy watched it. These aren't just bad. This is just like watching porno. 3 of them, about 2 hours apiece. It's bizarre. Can't believe that happened, but it was very, very popular. Everyone was talking about it. God, man. The Killer. Putting The Killer in the top of the good tier. This came out last year from David Fincher. I think it is biggest problem throughout it is the pacing. It is so slow at times, but I love that you're following this assassin who's like battling perfection. They have a one-on-one hand-to-hand combat fight scene throughout this, and I thought it was badass. One of my favorite hand-to-hand combat fight scenes I've ever seen. Hustle. Fantastic tier. It's one of my favorite sport movies of all time. It's my favorite Adam Sandler movie. It just inspires you. It's one I can toss on anytime. I've watched this 3 or 4 times. I can toss it on anytime, and it's just going to put a big smile on my face. It's going to get me inspired. It's going to get me want to play basketball, but it's going to get me to want to just bet on myself and go for it. It's what it makes me want to do. I love it. Don't Look Up. I think Don't Look Up's a great movie. I thought it was hilarious. Jonah Hill just had some quick lines. He's just hilarious, his quick-witted lines. Very divisive movie. You love it or you hate it. People were getting offended by it. God dang, it's just a fucking movie. Watch it, have fun, enjoy it. That's all I gotta say. Then we have Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. I'm going this in the great tier as well. The way they did Chadwick Boseman at the Oscars, he should have won. He is fantastic. He has not one but 2 monologues in here that just break you and shake you to your core. And it's just one of the most beautiful performances I've seen in a long, long time. And they gave it to Anthony Hopkins when they set it up for Chadwick Boseman, the late, great, rest in peace, the beautiful man. If you haven't seen Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, it's definitely worth a watch. It's not one of those movies like the Oscar movies for Netflix that kind of just get lost in the sauce, like a couple we're going to mention. It's just one of those that I think will be timeless. I think the more people ever go back and rewatch it, they're going to love it. Glass Onion, a Knives Out mystery. Going in the great tier. I love the Knives Out, and I really enjoyed Glass Onion. It's probably top 10 of my favorite year when that year it came out. There's just something about the ending that's a little bit absurd, and every time I rewatch this movie, which is 2 or 3 times now, it just rubs me the wrong way almost every time I rewatch it. So the more I think about it, I'm kind of like, why did we end the way we did? Why did it end like that? I don't like it that much. I don't like the ending, but the build-up in Benoit Blanc's donut's hole inside a donut's hole. All donut isn't a donut at all. So, moving on, we have The Irishman, which I'll put The Irishman in the great tier, but I think this is one of those Oscar-nominated movies. It's going to get kind of lost in the sauce in the next couple years. It took me about 5 days to watch this one. It is a very, very long movie, and when you're watching it at home in the comfort of your bed, it's a little bit slower. It's very easy to fall asleep. Nonetheless, I think the de-aging they did in Robert De Niro is fantastic. Fuck them. I chose us. Mank. David Fincher. I genuinely think that's a bad movie. It's one of those movies when I watched it, I was like, what? What is happening? Why is David Fincher making this movie? I was so mad. I was so freaking angry. Maestro. I'll put Maestro in okay. It's a solid movie. It has some good direction. Carey Mulligan is very good. But it's one of those, again, Oscar movies on Netflix that's just going to get lost over the years. And no one's talking about Maestro. It's boring. Triple Frontier. If I had an underrated category, this will go in that. It's going to go in the good tier. About a bunch of former like Navy SEALs, guys in the military, who are just broke. And it's sad, and it seems to be like a huge reality. It seems like they're hitting on something very real throughout this movie. But they go basically try to rob this big cartel guy. And it's a little slower, but the action they have in it and how badass these dudes are, it hits you right kind of in the heart. You got Ben Affleck, Oscar Isaac, Charlie Hunnam. Fantastic cast. A really, really solid movie. You were so not invited to my bat mitzvah. It's going in the good tier. I had so much fun with this movie when it came out last year. My wife and I were laughing, having a great time. Is it cheesy? Is it kind of silly and dumb at times? Yes, but it's Adam Sandler and Adam Sandler's family starring in this movie. What's not to love? The Gray Man. I don't dig the Gray Man slander we get going on. It's going in the great tier. It's just another Thursday. I love it. I think, you know what? We're going to change it. It's going in the fantastic tier. It's an action movie that I'm on board with. A slower burn, grand scope of action movie about two guys who are equally as badass going after each other. I love Ryan Gosling. My ego is a little bruised. I love him. I think he's great. Chris Evans plays a dick so well. The Harder They Fall. This is one of my favorite westerns ever. This is also going in the fantastic tier. I'm very positive on Netflix movies. I only really watch the good ones, but a couple bad. The Harder They Fall is one of my favorite westerns of all time. I love what Wes Samuel did with this. The soundtrack, it's like Quentin Tarantino met Guy Ritchie, telling a Fast and Furious story in the Wild Wild West. It's badass. Has a great twist with brothers at the end. Brought tears to my eyes. Loved it. The Trial of the Chicago 7. Gonna go in the good tier. But it's Aaron Sorkin. Aaron Sorkin's script is just phenomenal throughout this one. And it's a crazy true story that when you're watching it, Sacha Baron Cohen, I believe he won. Definitely got nominated. It's just a crazy true story. And I watched it twice. I enjoyed it both times. Solid, good movie. To All the Boys I've Loved Before trilogy. It's going to fantastic. There's Summer I Turned Pretty and To All the Boys I Loved Before. I love them both equally. I think To All the Boys I Loved Before trilogy is just fantastic. It's so sweet. It's those high school romantic comedies that they used to make all the time. That just hit you in the feels, brings nostalgia vibes. I loved it. I love the trilogy a lot. I kind of go back and watch with my wife from now and then. Around Valentine's Day, we'll get a lovey-dovey vibe. We'll turn them on. They're really good. Then finally, for this Netflix original movies tier ranking, we have He's All That. It's so bad that it's good. It's going to go in the bad tier because it's not that good of a movie at all. But it's one of those movies where I was like, I kept watching. I remember I was getting my car serviced, and it took about an hour 45, and I watched this movie in there. I was like, this is so dumb and so bad, I should turn it off. But I kept watching, so it's so bad that it's good. And that's going to do it for my Netflix original movies tier ranking. Every Netflix original movie that I've seen. I've probably forgotten many. You can mention them down below if I did. Hit the like button, subscribe button, notification bell, and comment down below your favorite and least favorite Netflix original movie. Thank you guys so much for watching and for being here, and I'll see you in the next one.